especially responding to security alerts. So this is one of the reasons we decided to partner with Arctic Wolf. We found it, no matter the depth and the brand of somebody's security architecture, there's generally a way that we can, that Arctic Wolf can really help increase your security posture and really help with the NDR service. So one of the other reasons I like when we can fit them into many different verticals, a lot of MDR solutions, they're very focused on a specific vertical. We've got everything from medical software company, K-12, county government. And in fact, we've got a technology, about 1,000-person technology company that we're signing a contract with today. So we've had a great experience with Arctic Wolf. And so with that, I don't want to steal any more Matt's thunder. We'll hand it off there, and please let us know if we can help you out with anything over here. So take it away, Matt.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Can you make me a presenter so I can share some screen with everyone? Fantastic, thank you. Okay. Let's try this again. Can everyone see
Yeah.
this screen? Fantastic. Let me move some stuff around so this is a little bit easier to do. So hello and thanks again for joining today. I'm your presenter from Arctic Wolf. My name is Matt Martin. I'm a senior system engineer currently based out of Denver, Colorado. But I'm on our large enterprise team. I am part of a team that covers basically from Colorado all the way up through Utah, all the way up through the Pacific Northwest. So I've got a pretty big territory. I'm actually getting excited about traveling around again. So hopefully I'll be able to see the world again as I used to do here pretty shortly. So anyway, so back to topic today. We're going to talk about cybersecurity, obviously, and how Arctic Wolf helps solve some of the challenges that exist in the industry. And I hope by the end of this presentation, you can see what we do and how we can solve the problems that are kind of out there that are being presented. So a quick agenda. We already did the welcome and introductions, and now we're on number 3 here for the presentation. And at the end, I'd like to do a Q&A session. However, feel free to raise your hand during the session, or add comments in the Q&A. And some of the other panelists also help me answer if they can. If not, definitely jump in and answer those as we go along as well. So kind of get started here. So first, I think it's important that we recognize that overall, the industry has really an effectiveness problem. Escalation and threat activity continues to grow, and to be honest, it doesn't seem to be going away. In fact, more and more money is being spent every year on cybersecurity solutions. Basically tools from different vendors, and yet we continue to see larger and larger cybersecurity breaches. Right. So, right now, as of 2020, there were over 3,000 individual cybersecurity vendors. Over 120 billion has been spent, but yet, right, the breaches continue to occur, and in fact, they're getting worse every year. So, we've really kind of distilled it down to probably three real reasons this is occurring. You know, from the research that we've done, and really a lot of research that's been published out there, right? One of the major reasons this is occurring is, to be honest, there's a lack of cybersecurity skill sets. There's not enough people, you know, with the proper skill sets and experience out there to fill the gaps that exist. And this is creating basically this global skill shortage of cybersecurity personnel that has compounded this issue. And it's a real problem, right? You know, one of the biggest things I see a lot in the enterprise space is, you know, team retention, right? You might be able to find, you know, one or two great cybersecurity personnel, but you know, they leave after 6 months or more, you know, for a better opportunity, and or right, they leave for an environment that isn't quite so behind, right? Too underwater or too busy to strategize is a real issue as well, right? So that's one of the major problems. The other one, honestly, is the industry itself. To be honest, there are just too many products, right? How do you choose, you know, a data security product or an endpoint security product, or, you know, a multi-factor security product, and what's the application for that, right? Which ones will cause conflicts with others, and worst of all, how do you monitor and properly administer those solutions, right? So there are, you know, 18 different categories, and each one has dozens of different vendors and products. I don't think I've had a conversation with a customer in the last 5 months that hasn't said, yeah, we're evaluating a different endpoint solution. We're in the middle of changing from one product to another, or we're evaluating a different firewall solution because the one we have, you know, didn't meet our needs for remote work. Right. So it's a constant state of flux as well that compounds the issue. And then again, right, you know, combine that with the skill shortage. Finally, the last issue is a bit of a you know, operations issue, and this is, there are just too many alerts, right? So, right, even if you've done your due diligence, you have the proper cybersecurity tools in place, many times it just becomes alert fatigue. You know, wading through the false positives, wading through just the amount of alerts that have been compounding to find those needles in a haystack and do actionable, you know, forensics and incident response to those cybersecurity alerts as they happen has become a real issue. In fact, right, there's some bullet points here, right? Over 51% of security breaches, half of those aren't, you know, investigated whatsoever, right? Or they leak through. And the outcome of this alert fatigue is really dwell time, right? The time it takes from a, you know, a security incident or a breach occurring to when it's actually detected and acted upon. And that dwell time is what amounts to real dollars. So really, what is the right approach? How did we get here, and where do we go next, right? And, you know, if we take a little step back, you know, in memory lane, you know, I began my my career in cybersecurity over 20 years ago. And at that time, right, you know, the biggest thing out there was your Symantec AV and your firewall, right? And then in the early 2000s, right, we went beyond that. We got stateful firewalls, then we got to, you know, multi-layer, you know, up to application aware, you know, layer 7 firewalls. And then in the 2010s, right, we really had a refocus on endpoint security and this whole idea of security platforms, where we're really understanding, you know, malware and leveraging advanced technologies to to solve it. But again, the tools have increased. They've become far more complex. We're spending more and more money every year to do it. What are we missing? And this is where security operations comes in. Because, again, the breaches are continuing to occur, right? Thousands go unreported every year. The average cost of a breach in a large organization is over $8 million. Larger companies can absorb that pretty easily, but unfortunately, it's the small businesses that suffer the most when breaches occurs. One, because they can't, generally, employ the right cybersecurity personnel up front, but two, right, it's just the cost of a breach can be very impactful to a business, both with lost business as well as cost of remediation, right? So this is the overall issue, and it right, there's some major things that we all are probably pretty aware of, right? The Target breach in 2013, right? It was actually identified by one of their security products, but due to the amount of alerts and alert fatigue, nobody responded to it, right? And I don't know like you, but my credit card information was stolen, right? Many millions of people's were. Equifax, this was huge for me as well, right? A flaw was known, meaning there was an open security vulnerability in one of their management tools, and a patch was available, but it was never installed in a timely manner, and therefore it was exploited, and obviously became one of the largest security breaches in the last decade. And then with Capital One, right? Capital One is famous for outsourcing everything to the cloud, right? And they have a major investment in the cloud. Yet they didn't have a small misconfiguration in one of their S3 buckets is honestly what it was, allowed by one of their developers, allowed somebody to gain access to a database of customers and transactions, all due to a misconfigured S3 bucket, right? So even the largest organizations out there with huge spend in security tools have failures and breaches due to improper operations. So, right, not all of these breaches are big, of course, but they're all impactful, right? 18% of organizations out there have been victim to a phishing attack. 43% of organizations today have latent security threats that are being missed by their security tools. And 70% have some sort of PII breach, right? Whether that's plain text passwords or worse, customer data, right? But here's the deal. They're not product failures. The products are doing their job. It's the operation side of it that's missing, right? It's the patch management and the configuration management and the alert fatigue that is overwhelming these organizations, both big and small, right? So, right, if we think about it, what we're seeing here is a lack of skilled personnel, too many alerts, right? Especially with large internet-facing properties, too many products, right? They're effective, but it easily becomes a bit of a whirlwind trying to navigate through that. They're not solving the problem by themselves, right? Breaches are continuing to occur. Going to the cloud only makes it more complex and harder because then you also have to have skilled cloud personnel on top of that, plus a change in operations. So really, what's next? What are we missing? And really what that is the operations side of it, right? Security operations. And this is where Arctic Wolf comes in. So we deliver security operations by taking the following approach. It all begins with broad visibility into your environment, right? So if we can't see it, we can't protect it, right? We combine that with 24/7 coverage. So there's always eyes on glass, investigating alerts, right? Doing the proper forensics, weeding through the false positives, and identifying the true security threats. And then we provide extensive access to expertise, continued with strategic guidance, and followed up by continuous improvement, right? So these are the 5 deliverables that Arctic Wolf provides to solve, right, the effectiveness issue with cybersecurity. And if we double click a little bit, right, what are we looking at? Well, with broad visibility, right, it's 2 things, right? Are we capturing all the information that's relevant, right? Not just, forwarding endpoint logs, but, are we looking at the network? Are we looking at flow data? Are we forwarding logs from your access points? Are we looking at Active Directory for, permissions changes, password sprays? Are we looking at your cloud environments, right? Is there shadow IT going on in your organization, much like the Target or the Capital One breach, where a developer created an S3 bucket, not for nefarious uses, but unfortunately it became a very large breach for them. And followed, and more importantly, I think today is endpoint data, right? Now that we have a very large remote workforce from many organizations out there, how has that changed it? How do we maintain visibility when most of our personnel are working from home or elsewhere, right? So broad visibility, on the surface seems simple, but, when we double click and take a methodical approach to it, right, we need to make sure we're covering all the right bases. The operational coverage, 24/7. Again, it's something that seems rather simple to achieve, and many organizations actually try to do this themselves, but quickly it becomes either too expensive or too complex to manage, right? So, if you're trying to build it yourself, you're typically looking at like 8 to 12 people for 24/7 by 365 coverage. You have to buy and maintain a lot of security tool sets like SIMs and other tools, and then have the proper training for that operational support of your SOC and continual development and training. So, again, and then if you're looking to outsource it, just the SOC coverage, right? How do you make sure they have the right context and coverage? Where's the variability in staff quality? How do you know that they know your environment? Right? So these are the challenges that a lot of organizations are struggling with 24/7 coverage, but Arctic Wolf delivers it. Right? This is all we do, right? So our SOCs personnel are certified and trained. We've got multiple SOCs throughout North America to provide the coverage you need, as well as look for those needles in a haystack and provide even proactive threat hunting and discovery, right? So 24/7 coverage obviously seems like, yes, it's easy. It's something that obviously we need, but again, it under the surface, it's a lot more complex than it looks like, and it's something that we take a lot of pride in how we deliver it to our customers. And then the operational approach, and I'm going to kind of fast forward to
this is Bruce. Matt,
yeah.
Just a quick question for you there. That just dawned on me. If a customer signs up for the Arctic Wolf service, what kind of security is there for them so that their network doesn't get accessed by any other customers that are serviced by Arctic Wolf? You know what I'm saying?
Great. Yes, that's a great question. And I'm going to probably go into the platform in a little bit, right? Kind of talking as we get there. But the basic gist of it is a cornerstone to our solution is our platform. We developed it as a cloud native solution, so we can basically handle multi-tenancy and massive amounts of security data very efficiently and very fast. So basically, bottom line, every customer's data as it's ingested into the platform is encrypted with their own keys, right? So it's encrypted and ingested into the platform. Every customer basically has their own secure enclave that's encrypted with their data. So there's no intermixing of customer data. Now, there are some correlation databases that don't contain any customer data that we use to help enrich it, like geolocation many IOCs and threat feeds that we subscribe to enrich that data and correlate it. But again, every individual customer's data by themselves is encrypted and separated.
Thanks, Matt.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that's a key component to our solution is the platform we're delivering it from. The other piece of it, and this is where these three next categories come in, is the service delivery itself. So we deliver our service through basically as a white glove concierge service. So every Arctic Wolf customer gets access to a named set of concierge security technicians that that understand your environment. We work with you to understand your security goals. We obviously baseline where your security is today. We provide expertise in all areas of security. So basically, so you can have that security team, basically, if you don't have one today, we can be that team. If you already have one today, we can augment it and in many ways enhance it. We can help provide that work-life balance, right? We are those experts behind the scenes that are just a phone call away. You get the same people day in, day out, right? They're your named team. So as part of that, we also do strategic guidance. Think of this as like, your vCISO or your CISO, right? Somebody that, right, we're vendor agnostic. We don't sell security tools, but if you're going through the journey of trying to discover firewalls, which one's meeting your needs, which multi-factor authentication is right for our organization, what is happening in the security landscape and how could that impact our organization, right? Who do I talk to understand this latest, exchange breach, for instance, and how does that impact our organization, right? So we provide that strategic guidance. And finally, continuous improvement. Every one of our customers, we consider them on a security journey. Nobody is at the end state. So there's always areas for improvement, right? Whether it's from mean time to detection or mean time to response, how can we improve that? Or how can we better align to the NIST security maturity model and identify where our high risk exposures may lie and how do we reduce that? We also understand what industry our customers in and how do they compare against their peers along their security journey, right? So everybody who's an Arctic Wolf customer, like I said, is in different stages, right? But our goal is to keep improving, whether it's time to response or just reducing your overall risk posture, right? This is where our concierge security team really helps shine and provide additional value.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
What would the typical interaction be? So if my company signs up for Arctic Wolf service and I'm on the security team at my company, what's the typical interaction with the concierge team? Do they have like weekly sync meetings or how does that part work?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. So it's not uncommon for our CST engineers to join your weekly team calls, go over, weekly and quarterly, security reports, review any open security tickets and how we responded to them with your organization. And then again, as part of the continuous improvement journey, what should, provide that guidance and expertise on what they should do next to help prevent those types of breaches from happening in the future, right? So there is a lot of communication that occurs, both, directly and through reporting that we can provide, as well as customized reporting and things like that. It's very much a hand-in-hand approach.
So is there something like equivalent to like the bat phone where there's a direct, I guess you'd have to have somebody, the customer, designated to be the primary contact, and then whoever is part of that concierge team, the engineer, let's say that they saw some kind of a breach, that they would reach out immediately using that communication?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me talk about the operations end of it, because you're drilling right into it, right? Because that's very much a key component to our security operations, is understanding um, each one of our customers' environments, what makes them different, right? What the escalation path looks like, the roles and responsibilities of the different team members in that organization. And again, right, if there is an incident, who do we contact? What's the escalation chain look like? Right. So that is security operations in a nutshell from a high level that we deliver, right? Um, so from a high level, this is what it looks like. Um, and then I'll talk about that one question in a second, right? So at the bottom of this little stack, right, this is where we're leveraging your tool sets, right? Your firewalls, your endpoint protection, your network devices and your cloud, your cloud environments, right? This is where we're gaining that broad visibility and ingesting all of that security telemetry information into the Arctic Wolf platform. The platform itself, as I said before, is a cloud native security analytics platform. So it's far more than a SIM, although we have a lot of that functionality in there. But we also store, enrich, analyze, and correlate all of that security telemetry information to react and respond quickly to events, right? It's built from the ground up for security operations. This is where, we've also enhanced it far beyond a SIM, right? We also have a built-in CRM, for instance, to, again, map out the roles and responsibilities of each one of our clients. Maybe John, Smith is, the endpoint, administrator. So he'd be our first call if we discovered maybe malware or ransomware attacking the endpoint, as well as emailing out to the broader team or a pager duty, something like that. And then, maybe Mary is responsible for the server environment. So if we see an incident that's hitting the server environment, right, we could respond to it there. Or maybe Mary is responsible for email phishing, right? And if we see a successful phishing attempt that may have impacted one of the people in the organization, right, we would reach out to Mary as well as PagerDuty, right? So this is, the platform is what enables security operations, right? It's part of the tool set we leverage to make us fast and efficient, but it couldn't happen without the concierge security team. This is where the true, in my mind, wealth and value of people come into play. There's a lot of tool sets out there that claim that AI and machine learning are all we need to understand and respond to security threats. But what we've seen in the real world is that often just leads to more alert fatigue and false alerts as they're learning how to respond. So there's real value to having security experts, responding to alerts, doing the triage, doing the forensics, and then understanding what it takes to resolve those alerts and working hand in hand with our customers. And that's where the concierge security team comes in. There's a lot of different roles in that organization, right? We have, a couple tiers of security personnel, but they work as a team in a very defined methodical operation. So we respond fast. And the three orange boxes at the end of the day are the services we deliver, right? You'll hear it called managed detection and response. This is basically hey, we detect an alert and we respond to it with our customers. Managed risk is, I like to consider this the proactive side of security operations, where we're doing vulnerability scans. We're understanding the open security risks, patch management, et cetera, in an environment. And then managed cloud monitoring is really taking those two capabilities and extending it into your cloud properties, right? Your Amazons, your Azures, your your other, SaaS applications like Microsoft 365, et cetera, and gaining that broad visibility so we can both be proactive and respond to security threats. Right. So these are the three services. And if I double click a little bit, I won't spend a whole ton of time. Right. What they really what we're delivering in each one, it's pretty comprehensive. Right. So with managed detection and response, we're bringing broad visibility to bear. Right. Obviously, if we can't see it, we can't protect it. So that's a big key of our platform. And one thing I'll mention when it comes to broad visibility, basically what we create for every one of our customers is a security data lake, right? This gives us the ability to not only respond to alerts as they happen in real time, but to go back and look for other correlations and events that could add to our digital forensics as we dig back through security incidents, right? One other key thing that I'll mention is we don't limit how much data we ingest. A lot of security platforms out there are either built on, events per second or, gigabytes of data ingested per day. We don't do that because, again, with broad visibility in mind, we don't want to limit the scope of what we're trying to monitor. So it's a key part of our service delivery. Obviously, the concierge security team is key and crucial to provide that human element, that cybersecurity expertise, that white glove experience for our clients. 24/7 coverage I've hit on. Alert triage, right? This is us, investigating and triaging security alerts as they happen. We'll also do threat hunting and helping identify where if other latent threats are in an environment where they may have originated. What the cause is and how do we improve and protect against that. And then managed containment is pretty unique as well. We have the ability to proactively isolate and contain a security threat in our customers' environments. A good example of that would be, someone working from home, double clicks on a phishing email and downloads some malware onto their computer. We have the ability from our SOC team to isolate that system from the network as part of our response, and then work with your team to address and fix that issue. The next piece of this is the proactive side, to manage risk environment, right? Again, delivered by the concierge security team, right? It's crucial to having not only a good experience, but a good understanding of your security journey. We're doing cloud posture security management here. This is where we're proactively managing your security, your cloud environments, and on a continual basis, right? So the Capital One breach, right, where somebody, shadow IT, created an open S3 bucket. This is how we're helping prevent that. Network vulnerability assessments, right? Continuous scans. Gone are the days when you could run maybe a quarterly or even a monthly security scan in your environment and feel that it is accurate and safe, right? Many IT environments are far too dynamic today to rely on some static vulnerability assessments. We do continuous vulnerability assessments within our environments, with our customer environments, right? Constantly looking for new threats, new open ports, new applications that might have vulnerabilities, right? It's a continuous journey. Host-based vulnerability assessments are part of that as well, in a continuous basis. Account takeover risks, right? We're actively looking at your Active Directory and other logins, Azure Active Directory, etc. Looking for people trying to take over accounts, looking for password spray attempts, looking for elevated permission attempts, etc. And then, finally, we're basically doing security controls benchmarking, right? This is where we're taking like the top 5 CIS controls and saying, right, we'll start with that, and then we'll go to the top 20, and helping reduce that security risk in your environment all along that security journey. And then, like I said before, right, cloud monitoring, managed cloud monitoring, right? We provide that cloud expertise where a lot of organizations don't have it. We know what it takes to secure, cloud environments like AWS, right? So we scan and identify your cloud infrastructure. We, understand, if basically shadow IT occurs, and we basically help simplify and provide that reassurance that as you move to the cloud as part of your continuing journey in IT, that it's secure. Also, we extend this to SaaS applications like Office 365 and G Suite, Salesforce, etc., to provide continuous protection in those increasingly, high-risk environments for attack. Again, that's part of our broad integration approach. So, really at the end of the day, why Arctic Wolf, right? And I'd really like to just kind of distill it into 3 things to leave you before we jump into Q&A. The first one is stronger protection, right? We provide that concierge experience, the broad visibility, and the 24/7 coverage you need to, really fill the gap when it comes to cybersecurity effectiveness. The next one is better value, right? There's been many market, analytics and trends out there from independent firms, but the fact remains it's cheaper than doing it yourself. One often thing I see, I've seen pretty extensively over the last 10 years is the continuing journey to cloud. And the number one reason I hear about that is, well, it's far cheaper than our data centers, right? This is really kind of a similar thing, right? Where, cybersecurity operations can be pretty expensive, especially in a 24/7, 365 world on, in organizations that have multiple tool sets, right? We're very cost effective. And then basically, like I said before, unlimited data. We don't charge per data, the amount of data we ingest. That would be counterintuitive to broad visibility. We have very predictable pricing, and you get to leverage, more importantly, right, your existing investments in your cybersecurity tools today. That is huge, right? There's no rip and replace required. And then the whole point, right? We're focused on cybersecurity outcomes, and our whole goal is to do it fast. This is all we do, right? We have a purpose-built platform for it. It's a very streamlined deployment. Many of our customers are up and running on Arctic Wolf within 30 to 40 days generally, right? So from signing with Arctic Wolf to having, a mature cybersecurity operations team backing you up happens very rapidly. And that's what I have. So I'd like to, open it up for Q&A. And again, thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you, Matt. Let me get on here and turn mute off so that we can hear from our attendees. We did have one question came in that was answered.
I would have my iced tea.
Okay.
So you don't need the fizzy stuff.
I think I've got everybody unmuted now. If you want to mute,
so
you can go ahead and mute yourself. But you should be able to ask any questions that you want.
So I see one question in here
I gave the guy
Nick
$5. To hell.
on how long the data retention period is, and that's a great question. So by default, we do 90 days of data retention on our platform. We have the capability of extending that all the way up to 10 years of data retention. So it really depends on what our customers' requirements are. Many are trying to meet, like industry certification requirements like HIPAA or PCI DSS. CMMC is a big one. So I see many of our customers going beyond that 90 days to 1 year or 3 year.
I remember when I used to have to work a whole day for $10.
When was that? Okay, so the next question I see here from Stuart is, our environment is heavily audited. Would your team be able to assist during audit cycles? Absolutely. That is one of the main deliverables of our CST organization. We would love to, become the trusted resource during your audit cycles, provide the information to your auditors on what security controls you're meeting with Arctic Wolf, where you're at, obviously as it relates to your security journey, whether it's, employing multi-factor authentication, providing expertise and guidance around that. Yeah, so that's a great question, Stuart, and that's one of the main deliverables and objectives of our CST organization.
All right.
Okay, I think that's what I saw in the
Matt, yeah, great presentation. A lot of good information there. Let me provide a little bit of summary here, not on the topic, but we appreciate you guys joining today. Just to reiterate, you will be receiving an email about your Amazon $25 gift card, and I think for some of you that entered questions about security, you'll be getting an additional Amazon gift card. So congratulations to you. And we will also be posting a recording of this presentation on our website. So we'll send out a link with a link to that recording within a couple of days of this presentation. So we want to once again thank Matt and Patrick for presenting today. We really appreciate the information that was delivered. We hope that you'll consider Arctic Wolf, see how it might fit into your environment, and maybe offload, let some of your employees do what they're trained to do and what they like to do, and let Arctic Wolf do take away some of that alert fatigue. So please reach out to us, any of our sales reps or any of our engineers. We'd be happy to get Arctic Wolf in the loop and see how they might work in your environment. So other than that, we will bid you guys a great day. Thanks again for joining, and hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.